to Davis Media Accesses and Davis Community Television's In the Studio. My name is Jeff Shaw. I'm the host for today. And with me today is none other than Larry Fisher. Larry's come down today to talk to me about some of what he does in Davis. And in fact, we're going to just jump into it because we have a lot that we want to tell people about in Davis. Larry, thanks for coming down today, first off.
Thanks for having me down.
You are a member of the, I don't know if your title, you have a lot of titles. We had a hard time actually picking a title for you. But one of the titles that we have for you that we may not have there is you're actually on the Yolo Landfill Waste Advisory Committee currently, right? And what is your role in that real quick?
I'm the environmentalist on the...
Okay. And you've got that role recently, or is this a long...
No, I've been on it for 2 years now.
Okay, you've been on it for 2 years. So, that's all right. Well, let's step back then now. Okay. So, you are a legend in Davis, I would say, for anyone who has been around for a while, mostly for the amount of repurposing and recycling that you do for items that currently go into the waste stream. And you do so much of it that you sort of came up with a term for it. And that term is called TOREMA, which we're going to talk about a little bit. But before we get into TOREMA, tell me a little bit about your background and how you now find yourself in this role as a repurposing expert, if I may call you that, in Davis. And maybe go back to your formal education, and then also some of the traveling abroad that you did, if you mind mentioning some of that real quick.
Okay. I was raised in Southern California, and we had a 5-acre lemon grove, and I was educated there by my parents to be subjected to their austerity program. They bought a very expensive piece of lemon grove, and my sisters and I had this austerity program. But the formal education...
That's usually how it starts out when you're young.
Yeah, you learn some things from your folks like that. San Diego State, after my military service in the U.S. Navy, was a psychology degree. And after that, I left the country and I went to Yucatan. I lived there 5 years.
Okay.
And I had studied anthropology, so I was very interested in the Mayan culture. And so I studied the Mayans. But what took place there in education-wise is that I saw that there was a lot of poor people there and there was a scarcity of resources. And so I watched what they did, and I learned some education from people who use resources really well.
And that probably harkened back a little bit to your days on the lemon grove, sort of having to make do with what you have and be creative with the resources at hand.
Exactly, yeah.
So when you came back to Davis, and I won't embarrass you by asking what year that is, no, I don't know.
No, it's okay. Let me see. What I did is I went to San Luis Obispo afterwards and did the master's program in international agriculture.
Oh, all right.
Because I had gotten that start in the Yucatan, and I wanted to learn more about agriculture. So that's the formal education part.
And the International Ag Development, or is that what it is? I know there's a program at UC Davis called International Ag Development. That exposed you more to just the basic development needs of third world countries, I guess.
That did, but I had already come 5 years out of the Yucatan, so I kind of knew what the situation was. But after that degree, I went with a Davis Citizens delegation to Nicaragua in 1984. And
so when you, being based in Davis then, you started to see just so much waste?
Precisely. When I came back, I saw food that we discard here, and I said, well, that's better than food here discarded than what I saw in the actual marketplace that I had to purchase when I was in Latin America.
Right.
And I saw all those problems.
Just being thrown out.
Just being thrown out. Yeah.
And you came up with this term, and is that about the time you came up with this term, or you?
It was sometime later I came up with the term TOREMA.
Okay.
I took the first 2 letters of the 3 words, Totally Recycled Materials, and I combined them together and came up with TOREMA.
And the concept of TOREMA is that, we mentioned food and sort of and the amount of waste stream, but this is more of an inventor type of concept where you're actually repurposing materials that are going into the waste stream.
Precisely.
And it's all are as recycled as they can be, I guess we should say, right? Is that sort of the idea?
Right. I saw that people having green catalogs and were recycling would say they had 20 or 30% post-consumer content. And I looked around the world I was in and the things that were being discarded, and I said, why don't we have 100% totally recycled materials?
Right, when you get stuff and it says 30%.
And you say, well, that's nothing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's, I guess it's better than, what, virgin
Yeah,
raw
it is.
materials?
Yeah, it is. I'll concede that.
And, you know, do you have a formal process for researching and sort of documenting the waste stream that you see, or has it sort of just been years of experience noticing what is thrown out? And
Well, I've always had a trades background and all. I've done refrigeration, air conditioning, and that kind of thing. So I have a mechanical background, and I just decided that I could put together a lot of products outside my field and make them viable and get them back into circulation again.
so it's a matter of getting stuff back into circulation that is broken. Is it just because people aren't willing to do the manpower, don't have the brain? Is it the brain power, manpower? Like, why is this stuff being thrown out?
Well, it's a combination of many things, but I think sometimes there's a little bit of arrogance that we are a first world nation, and first world nations take the cream of the crop, and the detritus that they no longer want, they can just cast off and no longer deal with it. And a lot of my friends wondered for 30 years why I pursued this line of thinking and reasoning and recycling.
Sure.
And now they meet me on the street and they go, you nailed it.
That's right.
So,
not everyone can afford new washer and dryer every I don't know, 5-10 years or something if they break. And there used to be that image of the Maytag repairman, right? That
has no work.
Has no work, right? And is that, or do a lot? We find this a lot. There's just the repair industry, I guess, is just things are built to not last, right? To a certain extent. Or?
To a certain extent, they're built to not last, and they're inferior products, and they calculate the engineering defects they will leave in products.
Okay.
Especially ones that come from overseas and come to our country.
Now, being on the Yolo Land Waste Advisory Committee, you probably know more about the waste stream than a lot of people do. Maybe
there's a lot to learn.
There's a lot to learn.
I think the people who are permanent employees there know a lot more.
But is there any kind of documentation that you know of the amount, other than just sheer poundage, right? Is there any kind of documentation of the waste stream, or is it just sort of all head off to the landfill that you know of? And this may be a little bit, like you said, there's permanent employees out there, but I just wanted to know if you have any sense of that yourself, or how it gets monitored, I guess.
Well, periodically they have to pull a truck aside, take a dumpster, unload it on a pad, and go get the gloves on and go through it and find out what's coming in.
Okay.
If they suspect toxic materials are coming in, they'll pull that over and unload that.
Right.
But
once it's out there, it's out there. It's not coming back.
Well, it's not coming back, and so a lot of the things are metals recycling and plastic, and now there's a place for e-waste and things that 20 years ago there weren't those stations.
Yeah.
And so the people who work out there have done their best to provide places where that could be recycled also.
So ideally there'd be some step in between taking it out to the landfill before it got there. Whose responsibility will it lie with to get it? Say, I've seen a picture that you had of a Taco Bell, and we don't have it here, but when businesses go out of business, in this case it's Taco Bell, and they have a bunch of chairs they have to throw out, who is responsible for intercepting the generation of all this waste before it heads out there, and then they have to deal with it out there?
Well, the Taco Bell was all the seats and tables taken out, and they didn't go out of business. It was a remodel, so I want to establish that.
Okay.
And it was just my friend who was doing the demolition, there's just no place to handle these chairs that could have gone back into what we call circulation. We could keep it back in the market.
Right.
So a lot of people who have advocated that they want a place to drop the things off where they would be saved finally get in total frustration. They throw up their hands, they load their truck, and they have to empty their trucks because they have their subsequent jobs they have to take care of.
Right.
So they just wash their hands of it and done with it.
And so there's an economy. I mean, we have to almost create an economy here, right? In order to create a market for these things. Is that right? I mean, there's no market for. If I'm the owner of a business and I'm remodeling, and I need to get rid of these chairs, how would you give them the incentive to deposit these chairs at some reuse center or something?
Well, I'm a member of a committee now that formed up after I gave my talk on campus, and we would like to have a city-sponsored restore. Many cities have the restores. Portland, Oregon has one. Bellingham, Washington, San Jose has one, and they call them rebuilding centers and whatnot. And they glean those kind of materials, and they give you a place to drop them off.
And the city actually.
Yeah, they're involved. It's often their warehouse or their land is set aside because they consider it a social good as much as a park.
Right. Because it keeps material out of the landfill. It keeps, what else? What are some of the other benefits?
Some of the benefits is it's not a competition with thrift stores because the kind of things that a contractor at the end of a job will take and want to drop off is not the kind of things that the thrift stores in Davis want to take on.
Right, and we will show some pictures of some of these items we're talking about shortly, of types of things that contractors drop off and everything. But it's not in competition with thrift stores. What are some of the other benefits to having some sort of say a city subsidized restore type center?
Well, places like the Third Space, which is an art collective in Davis, places like the Bike Collective and all, every month you have that rent to pay, and you can do so much more at a restore if you have an educational component. And when I've proposed this to some of my friends, they basically turned back to me and said, well, you will have to be a teacher at that facility. And I said, gladly, I would gladly be a teacher there.
Right. I have heard you speak before, and I noticed that it does take years of education, we should say, to be able to recognize certain items as useful and certain items as, I guess, reach the end of their lifespan or something. But clearly there's a lot of items that are thrown away.
Clearly.
And so maybe that would be a good time. Actually, we'll go to some pictures and we'll come back with some questions. I want to go through some of the pictures now. Here are some items that Larry has repurposed. Why don't you describe for us real quick what this is? Well,
just to show I'm not that bright, it took me 5 years looking at TV antennas as cable went up and TV's antennas came down. I noticed that when there were a lot of broken shovels and digging forks, there were no, the handles were too expensive. You went and buy wood ones, and I looked at the two items next to each other at one point, and I said, but this is the same size as a wooden handle. And we started, and to date we have refitted broken shovel pick heads, hoe heads, rake heads, 500 of them, and most of them are my favorite. These are shovels that would be just made scrap metal.
Yeah, and they last a lot longer.
They are more durable than the ones you could buy at
and the metal. All right, let's go to the next one. This is a leaf. What is this?
It's a leaf spring. This is the kind of springs that are under automobiles, and this is another item that shouldn't be thrown out, because if you see the curvature there, I invent using form and function, and this curve is the same curve as benches have. So by cutting these and quickly welding them together, and then putting Trex wood, plastic wood, or real wood on there.
Let's go to the next shot. I think
benches,
I'm not sure. So
there it is. Yeah.
So there's the leaf spring bent and then repurposed into a bench.
Right.
And normally that leaf spring from all these automobiles would go where? Just scrap metal?
Well, they'd be shipped to China, where they go to a polluting smelter.
So they're shipped to China.
Yeah.
And then we buy
benches back from them.
We buy benches back from them.
Yeah.
So,
and we buy shovels back from them.
So this is a way to keep the raw materials actually made in the USA.
Absolutely. it's
jobs.
and jobs. It's balance of trade. It's jobs. It's local control of resources.
Right.
It's employment. It's all those things.
All right, let's go to the next picture. This is looks like more leaf springs.
That trellis was a guy named Roberto, and I made that. It was all recycled materials. It was being thrown away. It was in my friend's dumpster, and I asked him if I could have it, and he told me yes.
And
those are knee braces.
Knee braces. Okay, thank
Yep.
you. So you do have obviously some a lot of handyman construction skills too, to know the engineering of a stable trellis. But I can see the reused leaf springs.
Yeah, they give a nice, beautiful line to it. Yeah, correct.
Besides, that's right. Besides serving the purpose of holding it up. Let's go to the next one. Thank you. What is that?
This was my concept of a tiny house because of the tiny house movement where people are downsizing.
Sure.
And so this is basically a shed that is made of completely recycled materials. It's TOREMA.
Let's go to the next one.
And just to make it easy, I took lampposts and I cut them and welded up these pieces so that I'd like to see these ubiquitous, almost like a Simpson tie. You just plug in the 4x4 posts and set the lag bolts.
And the metal there is what was that?
The metal was lampposts. It was a big lamppost, and I cut them and welded them.
Okay.
Just to show.
Where did and the lamppost was being thrown out.
It was being thrown away.
Okay.
So here's the concept: we're using recycled materials to join recycled materials.
So right. Well, the wood's recycled too, is what you're saying.
The wood is all recycled.
Okay.
The lamppost is all recycled. Correct.
And that is a strong joint.
That is a very strong joint.
But previously you'd have to buy, metal. I mean, okay, let's move to the next picture. But I get the concept here. We're keeping metal from being shipped elsewhere and smeltered down. This
would be a
waste
scrap pile. This is what most people see as waste, and they would haul it off. And what I see is I see, because we have the Tour de Cluck and people want to build chicken houses, I see sheds and tiny houses, and I see chicken coops and things like that, all built out of recycled materials.
Yep. And another slide here.
That was a demolition. Yeah, it was a demolition project last month.
And if you're an owner of property, you just want to get that stuff off you want to get it out of there. Mm-hmm. And you don't. It's a matter sometimes of time.
That's correct.
And we'll just throw that in the dumpster. So this is a bench that's kind of hard to see because the computer resized it. But basically, those are old. What is that?
Beams from above garage doors when people made rooms out of the garage, converted their garage. These are 13-foot beams that were over.
And the metal underneath them?
Metal is just scrap metal that my friend cut and provided a base for these beams.
If anyone goes to the Davis Community Pool, you can sit on this bench there. That was made by Larry's friend.
Yeah.
And let's go to the next picture. This is obviously I know what this is because I'm a biker person, but those are crutches that you probably got either out of we were either being thrown out or you got them at a thrift store. And that's been made into a bike trailer just by adding some aluminum braces, I guess.
Braces and hubs. Yeah,
hubs.
I make a hub kit, and people can just take 4 crutches and then start their bike.
That's fantastic. And real quick mention the aluminum on that was from. Is that also reclaimed?
Yeah, that's all from shower stalls that have been removed. Yeah.
Yeah, and normally a bike trailer like that would be $200, something like that.
At least, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Next slide is these are concrete that's being thrown out.
Right. When people do pours, this was at the student farm on campus. There's always waste concrete because you never want a short load of concrete. You want excess, and these are barrel hoops that are thrown down on plastic that covers the lumber loads. It's 10 mil plastic. You throw it down, you fill with concrete.
And I don't think people realize, people think concrete's sort of just waste material, but there's a lot of resources that go into making concrete. It's water intensive.
It's a very high carbon product.
So this is they would normally just get rid of the concrete that they made, but let's go to the next one and see.
And we've made 400 of those stones and given them away.
Yeah, it's garden pads.
Garden paths, correct.
All right, and let's go to the next one.
Mm-hmm.
Is this?
This is riprap. Riprap is pieces of chunk concrete that have been jackhammered out, and this has actually been concreted back in and roses planted in there. Looks very attractive.
I've seen concrete thrown away and grabbed some myself before and made a little bed like this, but it wasn't as nice looking as that.
Well, I'm all for putting concrete around the riprap pieces and really making it permanent, holding it in.
Oh yeah, to make it look nicer, and it also holds in heat. If people and during the winter time, the
Correct.
concrete absorbs heat, and it makes for a good planter. But let's go to the next picture. So this is
UC Davis.
UC Davis, a waste pile, and these are what's going on here?
These were trash bins and the cigarette butts that they thankfully got rid of off campus. But what they're doing is moving them around instead of calling people up who want them and saying, "Come with your truck and we'll load them and get rid of them." They're breaking them up, pushing them around with bobcats. The one on the left you see there is being all broken up. And over time, many of these beautiful pots that you would see in a Sunset magazine garden are being all broken up. And
It's amazing.
And then we'll pay money to have them hauled to the landfill.
Yeah, and people
As
are
rubble,
spending lots of money looking for new planters.
That's right.
And these can be, you can plant trees.
That's right.
So this is more waste from, I assume,
from
UC
campus.
Davis.
Yeah.
And this is a lot of experiments that are done in the field.
Correct.
Have to purchase tons of materials.
PVC.
And at the end of the experiment, which was funded by lots of times grant money or whatever, however they got their money, and thank goodness they do. But then they buy all this material, and then it just goes to waste after
Sure.
that.
Project over. Where's the dumpster?
Project over. Where's the dumpster? This is these are pumps
Right.
that are,
Right. I've sent 35 of these to Mexico and Nicaragua.
and they're pumps from
Hot tubs. They were under hot tubs, and 2 of them caught fire. So they recalled all of them in Northern California. And rather than listen to my friends who said just scrap them out, I shipped them.
So, and these can be used in other countries
For irrigation.
for irrigation to get water up a hill to irrigate land that's previously not
Right.
can't be used,
Right.
and you suddenly open up a whole area that can be an orchard that was previously unarable land because you shipped them these hot tub pumps.
That was the idea. Right. If the Americans don't want the hot tub pumps, at least we ought to turn them into foreign aid at some point.
Sure, and this is
These, I've given 50 of these away. They come out of the heater units that are in people's houses when the chamber maybe cracks and they're no longer, the heaters are no longer viable. This is a 6-speed pump, and people who work in toxic environments can get the dust out and the toxicity out. I give them a lot to blue collar workers who are working in hot toxic environments.
So, in recognizing these items, like I don't even, if I saw that, I wouldn't know what.
You have to be in the, have to have familiarity.
Yes,
Yeah.
and that's the same device there.
That's the same device, and
Right.
now that we have to go to green waste bins, I want to make a leaf vacuum where I can not have to pick up all those leaves in my front yard, that I can vacuum them up and use this as my vacuum source.
So some food waste items here, are these being thrown out, or
Well, it's not the food waste. It's actually that these are canning jars that are, are in the last century we kept these 30 years and we canned everything and we knew what was in our food, and now these are Classico spaghetti, and we should encourage all the manufacturers to put pickles and mayonnaise and all the other things in, and we would have a huge abundance of recycled Atlas. Yeah, they're Atlas and Kerr and Mason jars, and then we could preserve our own food.
Right, without having to
purchase
throw
these
this stuff out.
because it's a one-time use only item.
And same with these are construction white buckets that are hard to find. I've seen these buckets cut up and used for skateboard decks, but trying to find a use for that is
and my friends use them for that. Yeah, this is your biotech firm that decides to move, and that if you can get an enlargement there on the blue bin, they threw their recycle bin in the dumpster. And so I like ironic things.
Sure. Let's go to the next.
And then another firm, biotech firm, moved, and they threw 222 perfectly good lab coats.
How do you know there's no crazy toxic stuff on these lab coats?
Because they've just come from the laundry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's amazing. And this is...
And a store at the end of the season will take... there were 2 racks with vegetable and flower seeds, and they were... there's probably $500 worth of seeds in those 2 packs. It's just the end of the season, so it's a throwaway.
So let's show a couple more pictures here. This is Rebuilding Center where? This is what you this is in Portland?
In Portland, Oregon.
Okay, let's go to another picture of that. That's the same?
That's their warehouse. That's where all their materials are.
So these are primarily focused on construction materials, which is a great start because there's so much waste in construction, and the turnover in construction is so high that you're producing so much of these really useful items. And let's go to another picture. Oh, well,
That's it. That's it.
We only have a couple minutes left.
Okay.
Before we leave, and we could talk forever about this stuff because it's an area that I think you're ahead of your time on. It's good that you recognize these things because we showed some of the pictures of items there. Like I said, I didn't recognize what some of them are, and I really wanted to quickly ask if you think it's kind of an art or a science or sort of more engineering to be able to see what those items are and put them all together.
Art, science, or engineering. Well, a lot of people, the art, if we use art as a word talent, that's fine, because it is a talent that not everyone has.
Yes.
A science, yeah, because you have to know chemical and welding abilities and things like that.
Sure.
So it's kind of a science too.
Yeah, well, I think combining all those is, those skill set it does take time, but hopefully we'll get something off the ground in Davis to where you can share some of these educational.
I'd love that. I'd love to be back in retirement. I'd like to be back in an educational situation again.
Oh, that would be fantastic. So we're going to pull for that. I wanted to end, Larry, you have a quote you wanted to read to end that sort of inspires you, I think, perhaps. So maybe we can go to that, and everyone can tune in next time on In the Studio, but let's go to that quote and we'll end with that.
This I just found, and I thought it was so pertinent because things have progressed for so many years, and it's by Diogenes in the 2nd century. Not least for those who are called foreigners, for they are not foreigners. For while the various segments of the earth give different people a different country, the whole compass of this world gives all people a single country, the entire earth, and a single home, the world. Diogenes. What a great saying.
Excellent.
Yeah. Thanks.